All right, welcome. So today we decided to focus on a topic that's probably near to dear to everyone's heart, and that's reading your utility bill. So we all get one, we all have to have one, but they're pretty difficult to understand. And so we thought we would go through and kind of take an example of a utility bill and go through what each of the charges are and break it down for you all. All right, so just a quick reminder, what have we talked about so far on Pathways to Energy Efficiency? You can catch all of these episodes on the Facebook page. If you scroll down into the feed, you can find each and every one of them, or head to the videos tab to check them out. So we've talked about what energy audits are. We've gone through a few different programs, Empower New York and Assisted Home Performance with Energy Star. These are programs that are offered through NYSERDA, the New York State Energy and Research Development Authority. And they can help you get an energy audit for free and also install energy efficient upgrades to your home, either for free or at a 50-50 cost share. We talked a little bit about some things that you can do yourself around your house to make your home a little bit more energy efficient, a little bit more airtight, something that we can really start focusing on as we're approaching into the winter months. And then last week we heard from a special guest, an energy contractor, who talked to us a little bit about net zero building models and what they are and how we can achieve them. We're going to delve into that a little bit more as we look forward into the future of our episodes of when we discuss some renewable heating options as well as solar energy for your home. All right, so as always, we are your community energy advisors. My name is Catherine Ripstein. I cover Jefferson and Lewis counties. You can reach out to me with any questions you have about these episodes, any energy related questions you have, or if you would like to sign up for any of the NYSERDA programs, I can help you with that. We have Jennifer Perry, who's up in the Adirondack North Country Association. She covers Clinton, Essex, and Hamilton counties, and you can check out her contact information there. And then Nick Hamilton Honey, who covers St. Lawrence and Franklin counties, and Nick's contact information is right there as well. We can all help you with the same things. We just serve different territories up here in the North Country region. All right, so before we get into reading our utility bill, let's talk about the different types of utility companies that are out there. So the first type is the investor-owned utilities. This is the one that most people are probably most familiar with because these are our big utility companies in New York. So National Grid, NYSEG, Rochester Gas and Electric, Central Hudson Gas and Electric, Orange and Rockland. So which utility company serves you is dependent upon where you live. Up here in the North Country region, we are primarily served by National Grid, but a few of us have NYSEG. So when we go through the utility bill today, we're going to focus on a National Grid utility bill just because that's going to apply to the most people. But these are private companies. They're owned by shareholders and they're pretty large. The second type that is publicly owned utilities. So these are usually called municipal electric utilities. We have a few of them up here in the North Country. Some examples being the village of Theresa, Messina, and I believe Plattsburgh also has municipal electric. There's more. You can find a complete list of the municipal electric companies by following the link here on the slide. Quick note about these guys is you can't really apply for a NYSERDA energy audit if you have municipal electric, but do note that if you are served by a municipal electric utility, then there are often a lot of energy audit programs that they offer to their customers. So it's a good thing to call your municipal electric company and see what they might be able to offer you. And lastly is energy co-ops. They're nonprofit organizations and they are owned by the customers that they serve. And they're typically found in rural areas. I don't know about you, Nick, but I'm not really sure if we have any of these co-ops up here in the North Country.
We don't have any in the North Country. Central New York is our closest.
Central New York, okay. So that doesn't really apply to us. So we're gonna focus on that investor-owned utility, so National Grid. So here's an example of what your first page of your national grid bill looks like when you get it. The first thing to point out is circled there in red, that's your account number. So that's a unique identifying number specific to you and your account with National Grid. One thing to note is if you do want to apply for one of the NYSERDA energy audit programs, then you will need that number on your application to fill out. So it's important to know where it is and what it is. If you are served by NYSEG, this is called your POD ID number, and it also is found up on the top of your bill. Just take a look here. If you note, your charges on your bill are split between both delivery and supply, and we're going to get into why that is a little bit later. So let's take a look at, this is usually typically your second page of your utility bill. But let's note this current reading here. It's circled in red. So this is what your utility company maybe comes out and you have a meter that measures the amount of kilowatt hours you are using in your home, and they're going to take a reading of that. And so here on this bill, it's read as the current reading is 15,843. And so the utility company is going to take that reading and compare it to the previous month's reading, which at this point on this bill is 15,539. And they're going to take the difference of those two numbers to figure out how many kilowatts of energy that you used over the course of the billing period or the course of the month. It's typically about a month. And you can see right there, number of days is 29 for this example bill. So this was 29-day period and 304 kilowatt hours were used by this customer. So if you see in indented writing there, it says actual next to the current reading. And so what this denotes, it's saying that the utility company is the one that came out and actually read the meter for this customer. I apologize. And so that's what actual means. There are other types of readings that you can have. You can have an estimated read. So maybe the utility company didn't come out. And so they took what your past electric usage has been in the past, and they came up with an estimation for what they think that the amount of energy you used for that month was. They will eventually come out and get an actual read again. And so be able to adjust for that estimated read. So that if you are seeing like a big jump or something, maybe a small jump in your electricity usage or your bill for that month, it might be because you had an estimated read. And so that's a good thing to know about so that you can kind of see, oh, what is the difference here? Why is my bill a little different than normal? And it might be because you had an estimated read instead of an actual read. Another type of read is a customer read. Sometimes we get little mailers in the mail that you can fill in the numbers on from your meter. I know growing up, we had a meter in our basement and we would get a little card in the mail each month, and my mom would have me run down into the basement and fill it out and hand it to the mailman and bring it back. And so that's a customer read. That's you are filling it out and reporting it to the utility company yourself. Remote read, they're taking it remotely, and no read is they haven't read it at all. And so that 304, the total usage that was calculated from the difference of the previous and the current month, that's what's going to be applied to the delivery and supply charges. So your total usage for the month becomes your multiplier for each and every one of those charges going down, and you can see that with that orange arrow there. All right, so what is a kilowatt hour? It's a unit of electricity measured by your meter, and it is used to count your electrical consumption. So a kilowatt hour is a measure of watts of electrical energy used over a 1 hour time period. So 1 kilowatt is equivalent to 1,000 watts of electricity. And so that's all a little bit confusing, a lot of information in there. But if we took the example of one light bulb in our home and say that light bulb is a 100-watt light bulb, and we left it on for 10 hours, not great if you're trying to be energy efficient, but let's just pretend. So we've left this 100-watt light bulb on for 10 hours. And so over the course of that time, we have used 1,000 watts of electricity by leaving that light bulb on. And so that would be 1 kilowatt hour, which is quite a bit of energy, of electricity, if you're comparing it to the 304 total usage. And that's just from one light bulb being left on. So turn off your light bulbs when you're not using them. Save you some of that electricity there. And then before I turn it over to Nick, the last thing I'm going to point out is this electric usage history that you can find over on the left-hand side of your bill. So this is a great way to see how much electricity you have used each month, to compare your months. So you might see a big difference between January and May, but typically you don't want to see a huge difference between April and May. So you can kind of see how efficient you're being by comparing how many kilowatts of energy you have used throughout the month. Another thing to note is that if you are applying for one of the NYSERDA energy audit programs, it's really great to have this usage history here, because instead of having to supply 12 months of electricity bills to the contractor who will be performing your energy audit for the application, you can just use one bill because it has this history here. And so your contractor can go ahead and pull that electric usage history right from one bill and get a good idea of what your baseline energy use is before they come in and do your energy audit. All right, and so now I will turn it over to Nick, and Nick is going to explain to us, break down the delivery and supply charges.
All right, and so this is really that second into the third page of your electrical bill. And it's looking at the details of the current charges, right? So delivery and then supply. And so delivery is what the utility uses to maintain electric transmission lines and distribution lines, and to repair and replace lines as required. And this is the state's Public Service Commission that regulates this utility charge. And under this delivery service charge, so we see those different meter readings, and we get that 304 kilowatt hours, right? So then we take that down and we see that it says rate electric SC1 non-heat. So we know by looking at this electric bill that we're using electricity, but not for heating our home. This is for all the other, lights, appliances, electronics, all of that you have plugged in your house. And the first line there is the basic service charge. And it says right there, not including usage. So this isn't looking at how many kilowatt hours we've actually used. This is the basic charge. Everybody pays it. Even if you have solar and you are not necessarily using a lot of electric, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about solar. Even people that have net zero homes and have electricity have this basic service charge. It is a fixed charge, and it covers the utility's cost for meter reading, generating bills, sending bills, all of those things. The delivery charge, so right under that basic service charge, you have that delivery charge. This is what you pay to the utility for having them deliver those electrons to your house over the line, right? And if you have natural gas, same thing. This is the charge to deliver that natural gas to your house. The SBC, or Systems Benefit Charge, that's a state mandated charge. It's also the charge that NYSERDA uses to implement some of the programs where you have the free home energy audit, and then you may have upgrades that are free or upgrades at a 50-50 cost share. All of that monies for that come out of this SBC, the Systems Benefit Charge. And then we're looking at that legacy transition charge. And this reflects the cost of making electricity under the natural gas, making it more competitive. It's also the difference in price your utility paid for the open market versus the long-term supply contracts. And this number, if you look on your bill, sometimes is positive, sometimes is negative. So positive is the charge, the negative is a return. And that just depends on where you are in the state and whether you're getting some of that legacy charge back. We tend to, in St. Lawrence County, get a small bit back from National Grid because we have Messina producing hydro, which kind of alters the how all of our power is in the grid, right? So where it comes from. So sometimes it's a positive, sometimes it's a negative. It just depends on where you are in the state. The RDM is the revenue decoupling charge mechanism. And this is really so that your electric company, in most cases National Grid in the North Country, doesn't want to incentivize, right, making more profits. They don't, if they charge more, they get more, they're making more profits. This is the charge that is supposed to make them indifferent to how much of the energy that they're selling. And it still guarantees a certain level of profit, but doesn't, again, make it so that they're upping. And it also makes them not resist doing energy efficiency upgrades to the system. And so then we'll jump down. There's some other tariffs and charges that you'll see on your bill. And this really, again, depends on where you are in the state. The supply services, right? So delivery is what taking those electrons and getting them to your house. Supply is actually making the power, right? This is the market price for electricity or natural gas. And you can purchase your electricity from other energy sources. So sometimes it's an energy service company or an ESCO. Sometimes it's from specifically solar. It could be small hydro. We have several options here in the North Country for that supply of those electrons. It doesn't have to just be you just get the National Grid supply. You can, invest in solar or that renewable energy. And then the merchant function is the utilities administrative costs for obtaining that electricity or natural gas. So National Grid is not they're the company that is providing you the electricity, but they are not creating that, right? So they're not the source. They have this merchant function to get that electricity, those electrons. And so what is an energy supply company or an ESCO? They are New York State's deregulated electric and national grid market, natural gas markets. So not this isn't National Grid, this is an ESCO. This is a different company that's deregulated. And under those deregulations, they're required to sell their electric generating plants to private businesses not connected to the utilities. And those companies then compete with each other, and that's how you get possibly some better prices per kilowatt of your power. And the utilities can both deliver and supply, and you can choose those different suppliers, right? That's the ESCO. And it's also part of why we have the difference between the delivery charges versus supply charges. And, again, ESCOs can provide different sources, including renewable sources of power. And you'll have this section usually on your third page, I think, that's the choosing an energy supplier. right? This is National Grid's just saying, you don't have to just get our supply, you can actually choose a supplier. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about solar. There's some other renewable energy choices in the North Country. Again, like I said, you can go with the small hydro that's available in some cases. You have options. You can also choose, National Grid has a slight upcharge per kilowatt hour where you can say, I would prefer that my supply come from renewable energy sources. And in that case, you're paying just, you know, like a penny more, or even like parts of a penny more for having renewable energy. The grid is all supplied by all these different sources of energy, but you can say, I want my electrons to be coming from renewable energy sources. And so again, you can contact us. We are your community energy advisors. Katie services Jefferson and Lewis counties. Jen services Clinton, Essex, and Hamilton, and I service St. Lawrence and Franklin counties. If you have any questions that we might have covered in previous Pathways to Energy Efficiency, those recordings of our previous Pathways to Energy Efficiency can be found on Jefferson County's Facebook page, CCE of Jefferson County's Facebook page, CCE of St. Lawrence County's Facebook page, and then ANCA's Facebook page. You would just click on videos and scroll down until you find the Pathways to Energy Efficiency that you are looking for. And coming up, we have building envelopes. So we're thinking about the whole of your home and how you can make it airtight and energy efficient, so that you can move on to those other steps of working towards net zero in your home. And it is in fact not what you mail. And then we'll talk the week after that about some more about our electricity. So we talked some today in our bills, and we've talked in previous weeks, but we'll dive a little bit more into the electricity, and then the vampires in your home. So what's sucking electricity out of your lines that you might not be actually using, but some of your equipment might be. And I don't think that we have any additional questions. And we're actually going to cover a little bit more about solar and how that might be different from ESCO's in the solar episode. Otherwise, I think that we're good.
Yep, I'm not seeing too many more questions. Again, we're going to be diving into different types of utility bills when it comes to how that's going to look and change when we do community solar. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, thank you everyone, and join us next Tuesday, and we'll see you then. Thank you.